Since it was established in 1873, Batt, Bales and Balls has been the smallest and most traditional firm of solicitors in the quaint market town of Twitching, a few miles from the sun-drenched coast of southern England. But all is not well in those grandiose, yet somewhat faded corridors of equity and jurisprudence.
Hugh Balls, known behind his back as Huge, is the fifth generation of Balls in the firm and is the current senior partner. But the firm has been going through a lean spell recently, thanks in part to the credit crunch, but also in no small measure to a few dubious decisions taken by Balls, who has the final say in partnership affairs, principally because he is currently the only partner. And those decisions have angered more than one member of the firm. Take, for instance, his faithful secretary, Annette Curtin. She's been with the firm for years, working her way up from tea-girl to her present lofty position. There are those in the firm who believe she only achieved this through giving everything to Balls, including her body, and they'd be right. The two of them have been having an affair for some years, but his wife has found out, and the present Mrs. Balls is threatening to become the ex-Mrs. Balls and take him to the financial cleaners, unless he sacks Annette and promises never to stray again. So she's been given a month's notice. Annette's whole life is Balls. How will she react? Dick Withers is the firm's practice manager. Balls recruited him a few years ago, promising him a free hand to take care of the business side of the firm. Sadly, Withers took him literally and has been systematically stealing substantial amounts of cash from the practice to fund his high-flyer image and his unfortunate weakness for cocaine. Following an investigation by his accountant, Balls knows that Withers has had his hand on the till and has told him to resign, effect from the end of the month, or the whole affair will be turned over to the police. Dick is between a rock and a hard place, and he knows it. Flavia of the Month is the firm's most recent recruit, an attractive trainee solicitor who Balls was very keen to have as a partner, but not in the boardroom. His plan was for her to replace the faithful Annette as his extramarital interest, and Balls has already had his wicked way with Flavia, several times actually, in a smart hotel during a 3-day legal conference in Brighton a month ago, when he promised her a permanent position. But his wife's ultimatum regarding Annette and other possible replacements has forced Balls to tell Flavia she's not being retained at the end of the month. Flavia feels used and abused, and she isn't going to take it lying down any longer. Mike Rochip is the firm's IT expert and a wizard with all things electrical. Balls hired him to bring the firm's computer system into the 21st century and paid him well, yet insisted on querying almost every decision Mike made. His most costly blunder to date was to overrule Mike's choice of the latest high-tech software, designed specifically for use in a solicitor's practice, and insist on buying an inferior but much cheaper system. This quickly proved to be next to useless and has cost the firm dear, losing it both money and clients. Balls has acted swiftly and in character, blaming Mike for everything, and has given him a month's notice by email, which Mike hasn't read yet. Mike's short temper is legendary. He once threw a laptop into the car park via a closed window. How will he react to being fired because of a decision Balls made? Olive Stone has worked for the firm ever since she qualified as a solicitor, spending most of her time drafting wills for the wealthy and the elderly, and making very little profit for the firm. But she was loyal and reliable, and the previous senior partner, known affectionately as Old Balls, had promised her a job for life. New Balls, however, does not feel bound to honor his father's promise, and has told Olive she's being made redundant in 3 months' time. Olive's whole life, her whole world has been shattered. Her life will never be the same again unless Balls changes his mind or Olive does something drastic.
Hello, your call cannot be taken at the moment, so please leave your message after the tone.
I'm now able to confirm that your suspicions are correct. Withers has made a number of unauthorised withdrawals from the office account over the past 18 months or so. I'm not sure exactly how much yet, but it's not less than 20k in all. He's been using office account checks to pay a company called Pooters R Us for various items of computer hardware that the firm has apparently ordered from that company. Problem is, none of the stuff that was ordered seems to have been delivered. I called in a favour from an old chum of mine in the banking business, and it transpired Pooters R Us is a fictitious company set up by none other than Dick Withers. I might be able to get enough evidence for you to prosecute the bugger, but do you really want the publicity? Probably best to just get rid of him and cut your losses. I'll let you know as soon as I've got a final total of the loss to the firm. Regards, Penny.
Balls. Who? No, it's you. Well, what's the damage? £22,000, are you sure? Penny thinks that's about right. Listen, Ivor, for the money I pay you, I expect an exact figure, not a probably maybe estimate. Yes, I know it's a substantial sum, you moron. You told me that last week, which is why I fired him. I want an exact figure, and I want it by tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow.
Anything else?
Yes, a little respect for your employer.
You git! I've given you everything, literally. And just because she has a tantrum, you calmly tell me it's, how did you put it? Time for me to move on. Of all the bloody cheek!
Now, just you listen to me.
No, you listen to me, you randy little rat. You won't get away with it. It's unfair dismissal. It's
the end, Annette. That's what it is, the end of your employment here. And unless you wish to get a decent reference, I suggest you behave a little bit more like a lady for the remainder of your time here.
I haven't finished with you yet. And another thing. Here, you can take back your sordid fetish wear. The latex always gave me a rash anyway.
So many allergies, so little fun. Now get out. Oh, and find Withers for me.
Find him yourself.
Now, one more outburst like that and you won't get any reference.
Oh, I wonder if he's in his office. Oh. Or are you too shagged to pick up the phone?
Yes, I've tried that, but I got no answer.
Maybe he's gone to the job centre.
Oh, do we have an appointment?
Don't give me that. You're getting rid of me after all the years I've given to this firm, and despite your late father's promise. I don't need an appointment. I need an explanation.
My father was a sentimental old fool with no business sense. It's become plain to me that you don't earn enough to justify your far too generous salary, so you're leaving. Redundant. Surplus to requirements, call it whatever you like, but you're out of here in under 3 months.
And what happens if I kick up a fuss? Take you to a tribunal? Complain to the Law Society?
They'll all tell you the same thing. that I run the firm now and it's none of their business. There's no place here for a useless, inefficient lawyer like you. So why don't you just resign today? Go now and do us all a favor.
I'm leaving before I do something I'll regret.
Your decision. Oh, I'll organize a whip round for the usual pathetic leaving present.
I don't mean I'm resigning, you stupid man. I'm going to the doctor.
Well, throwing a sickie won't help. Anyway, what's the matter with you? Not that I remotely care, you understand?
I've got an acute case of occupational nausea.
Oh, what's that? Some trendy new designer illness, I suppose. Another excuse to take time off at my expense.
Not exactly. It simply means I'm sick of my employer.
Annette, where the hell is Withers? We'll go and look for him.
What the hell is this?
I don't think I heard a knock knock.
I'll knock all right. I'll knock your bloody head off if I don't get an answer within the next 5 seconds. What's this?
Oh, is that a copy of my email?
What do you think it is? My last will and testament?
Temper, temper.
I'll give you a bloody temper. This says I'm fired. Why?
Well, don't you know?
Well, I wouldn't be asking if I did, would I?
Well, then I'll spell it out for you. Your performance as a so-called IT expert has fallen below the required standard expected from this firm.
Meaning you, I suppose.
Of course.
What do you mean, my performance?
I mean that you've wasted an enormous amount of the firm's capital on an IT system that simply isn't fit for purpose. It's cost me a packet and it's cost you your job. It's as simple as that.
But it was your idea in the sodding system in the first place.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, yes, it was. I warned you it wasn't right for this firm, but you said we'll have it because it's cheap. Those were your very words.
And you can prove that, can you?
Well, I've just said so.
Got it in writing, have you?
No, of course not. You made damn sure of that.
And just remind me again, whose name and signature's on the order form?
Mine, I know that. But I'm acting on your instructions.
And can you prove that? I think not.
Think what you like. I'm not finished with you, Balls.
Well, I'm finished with you. Now get out.
You're a dead man, Balls.
I said that was a good idea, except that killing is too good for you.
Pardon?
You heard. I've had a couple of days to think about what you've done to me. And the more I think about it, the more I wish I'd never met you.
Well, you didn't say that in Brighton.
I'm not talking about Brighton. That was the most disgusting thing I've ever done.
You didn't say that either.
You promised me a permanent position. A potential partner, you said. And now I'm sacked? For no good reason, without explanation?
Flavia, I've told you why you have to go. I mean, the practice simply can't afford you.
That's rubbish. I know how hard I worked for this film. I've seen the figures with Dick. He said I was making good profits for the film. So what's going on?
I'm sorry, Flavia, but I simply can't keep you on.
Huh. It's her, isn't it?
Who?
Scylla. The first and worst Mrs. Balls, as you so charmingly refer to her in Brighton. She's jealous of me. That's what it is, isn't it?
Jealous? She's only met you once.
And that's not all, is it?
What are you on about?
Do you think I'm stupid? I know you've been bonking Poronet for years. The entire firm knows about it, and so does Scylla. She's told you to get rid of the pair of us, hasn't she?
I have to admit it, you have a vivid imagination.
It was all going so well, was it? Get careless, did you? Left some incriminating evidence lying around, or does she go through your pockets?
Yes, I think this conversation is over.
She said that unless you get rid of the pair of us, she'd rip you to shreds in the divorce court.
Yes, goodbye, Flavia. Please don't bother to work out the rest of your notice. Just leave now.
I haven't finished with you yet. You're going to pay for this.
Yes, please get out, Flavia. I really am very busy.
Shall I come back later?
No, do come in. Flavia was just leaving, weren't you?
This is another boss. Vamos a pagar cuando se feria.
Bad time to call.
Well, not for me, but for you. Oh, yes.
All right, there's no need to labor the point. I am leaving, aren't I? As you commanded. Not that you can prove anything, of course.
I wouldn't bet on that if I were you.
Now listen, Bowles.
No, Withers, you listen to me. I've just had a very interesting chat with our firm's accountant, and he's told me how much you've stolen from me, but then I don't need to tell you that, do I?
Told you I haven't stolen a penny from this firm.
Oh, I agree, it's not a penny. It's £22,000. Ivor has all the evidence I need.
And I've told you, you can't prove...
Yeah, prove a thing? Well, I'm going to have a damn good try. Unless
what?
Unless you repay the lot within 6 months.
6 months? That's impossible.
So you admit you've stolen it?
I was going to give it back before the books got inspected, but things got a bit out of hand.
And up your nose, apparently.
I use coke occasionally for recreational purposes. Who doesn't? But it's not a habit. I can take it or leave it.
Yes, unlike my money, which you just take.
All right, enough. I'll do what I can, but 6 months? I need longer balls.
You've got 6 months, or else I'm going to go to the old bill. And if I do that, you're going to jail.
I always knew you were unreasonable, Bowles, but I never knew you were such a big...
Sorry to interrupt, oh mighty one, but Flavia has a problem.
I'm busy.
It's not you I want, it's Dick.
What can I do for you?
My battery is flat, and I remember that you said you always get the settle jump plate in your car. Would you mind giving me a jump?
If your meeting with His Majesty is finished.
It's finished.
Well, in that case...
Everybody out!
Sound like Arthur Scargill.
That's the fire alarm, and I'm still the fire marshal, and the alarm means we all vacate the building, now!
It'll be a false alarm, it always is.
But we can't take that chance. All out!
She's right,
now!
let's go.
And you.
This is pathetic. Right, now, where were we?
You'd given me 1 year to repay you.
Oh, nice try. It was 6 months.
Be reasonable. I need to find a decent job pretty quickly. Otherwise, I'll be in financial queer street.
Yeah, that's your problem.
And yours. If I can't find a job, I can't pay you anything, can I?
You're in no position to try and do a deal here with us. You owe me £22,000 plus interest. And unless I get it within 6 months, you're going to jail. Got it? Oh, what do you want?
My job back, Bowles. Or else.
Or else what? Don't try and threaten me, Roadchip, especially in front of a witness. That would be really, really stupid.
Would you mind leaving us for a moment?
Pardon?
Get lost!
This is my room, Roadchip, and I decide who stays and who goes. So, he stays, you go.
I'm warning you, Bowles, unless I get my job back, you're toast.
I don't think so. Oh, it suddenly got rather dark in here. Must be your black mood. There's only one person in here who's toast.
Let's try that again. Goodness me, what a shocking end to that first act. I'm sure there's plenty of you to mull over, bits and pieces for you to think about there as to who the killer might be. But right now, we're going to take a short interlude, and I'm going to hand you over to Jonathan Norris. Jonathan.
Good evening, all. In February 2017, I had the lucky chance to play the part of Ernest in Alan Ayckbourn's Bedroom Farce. Lovely production, designed by David Taylor and directed by John Chapman. And as usual, I wrote a few verses, which I'd like to share with you. And I hope those of you who know the play very well as I do, will forgive me if I briefly outline what happens for those who don't. The audience can see 3 bedrooms at the same time. In the left-hand bedroom, Ernest and Delia have their evening completely ruined by an unexpected visit from their daughter-in-law, Susanna, who's having problems again with her marriage. Meanwhile, her husband, their son Trevor, is wrecking the arrangements in the right-hand bedroom of his ex-girlfriend Jan and her husband Nick, who's currently out of action because he ripped his back pulling his socks on. And in the middle bedroom, Kate and Malcolm pay the price for inviting both Susanna and Trevor to their housewarming party. And once that is wrecked, all Malcolm has left to do is to try and make head or tail of the instructions for some home furnishings. Here it is. I call it Headroom Verse on Bedroom Farce. Over leaky gutters fretting, making soporific cocoa, distant fish on toast, forgetting now life's rallantando poco, problem-free your one begetting, but your sleepless rage can't thwoke her. How thou yearnest now, O Ernest, for that carefree golden past. Now your wife's approach is steelier. Well, of course they'll hold the table. Deals with life as led by Delia. Rather die than show a label. Had she been a touchy-feelier parent, Trevor might be able to construct mature relationships and settle down at last. His Susanna may be flighty, her libido quite gymnastic. Mum-in-law supplies a nightie, and they chat about elastic, finding sex a challenge mighty when bed snacks seem orgiastic. So they banish Ernest kitchenwards to a bathroom and to damp. Off he goes with muttered grumbles to his blankets gently steaming. Hardly settled back he stumbles, but Susanna's only dreaming. For his dressing gown he fumbles on the margins of blaspheming. All this exercise with bleary eyes at least wards off the cramp. Into self-help is Susanna, greater confidence she's seeking, in an ostentatious manner to herself her mantra speaking. In the works she flings her spanner whilst with indignation squeaking. Is she potty, slightly dotty, or just very, very dim? Should we sympathize with Trevor neath that heavy weight submerging, and encourage his endeavor selfish habits to be purging? With Susanna he's forever on their battleground converging. Does the world contain the woman who would be just right for him? Well, he had a spell with Jan, who had the lucky chance to swap him for a business action man, who finds a splintered spine will stop him. Though she's secretary, nanny, nursemaid, nonetheless she'll drop him to attend the Newtons' party, just to help with Trev and Suze. Nick, immobilized from bustle, going mad from forced inaction, at the mercy of a muscle, in self-pitying reaction, makes his wife take on his hustle, and that's a part of her attraction. But to hear about her snogging isn't very welcome news. Now, laboriously climbing back to bed, a break from groaning, he'd forgive her awful timing, he might even leave off moaning. But as 6 o'clock is chiming, they must cope with Ernest's phoning, and with Delia's request to speak to Trevor if I can. Don't wait up, he'd kindly said to Kate, incapable of joking, but his making calls so very late has Nick, just take it, croaking. Then his dialing in that darkened state gives Nick a thorough soaking. Please don't ever let him in again, he whimpers now to Jan. Of the conquests Malcolm scored, and they comprise a lengthy roster, none has ever cried, I'm bored. You'll want to check with Doreen Foster. But does history record just how and when and why he lost her in the days before he chose a wife in Mrs. Normal, Kate? Kate would hate to hurt his feelings by suggesting things get boring when her eyes are scanning ceilings and her thoughts migrate to flooring. But such ill-advised revealings lead to hammering and snoring, till his rickety surprise suggests his ego's likely fate. For your party, was it clever? Will your lives be more exciting to have asked Destroyer Trevor? That's disaster you're inviting. Add Susanna too, who'll never miss a chance of bedroom fighting, and you'll kill the party spirit for some 50 of your friends. Skilled at mutually baiting, you just left them for a minute, both vociferously stating how they wouldn't dare begin it. Little grievances inflating to a war, though none can win it. Coats retrieved and handed back. Inside an hour, the party ends. Kate and Malk were just beginning. Trev and Suze have come and gone. Jan and Nick were mostly winning. Ern and Delia plodding on. They just needed underpinning. Partnerships sine qua non. And a Phillips. And some sanding, and some sympathy and tea. So perhaps the modern marriage is a flat pack from IKEA, though its critics may disparage such an obsolete idea. As we build it in the garage, only slanting tops we fear. And to put them right in bed at night, we need Sir Alan's key.
Excuse me, could you take your mask off, please?
At about 1400 hours today, I examined the body of a male person, identified only as Hugh St. John Bowles. The body was that of a well-nourished male, in my estimation, aged around 50 years. I noted large, deep burns to the palm and fingers of the right hand, which, in my experience, are classic examples of burns caused by a substantial electric shock. I proceeded to examine the heart, which had suffered a massive trauma as a result of the pulse of electrical energy that had entered the body via the right hand. This caused irreparable damage to the heart, which would have ceased functioning permanently from the moment of impulse. That's not a knife. That's a knife. Further examination of the heart revealed some evidence of a pre-existing condition, possibly due to excessive intake of alcohol. However, the shock from the electrical charge would have resulted in virtually instantaneous death. I understand the electric shock was caused by an incorrectly wired desk lamp. In my opinion, the cause of death in this case can be directly attributed to this faulty equipment. It is possible that this death was either accidental or by design. Although I cannot exclude the possibility that the deceased chose this method to end his life, to take such a novel approach would be unique in my experience.
The police are crawling all over the building. Bowles didn't die of old age. This is a murder inquiry. And we're all suspects.
Except me.
Oh, really? So why not you?
I had no reason to kill him.
Oh, not much you didn't.
We all know about Brighton.
And as you went by train, we used to call it your away days. Have it away days.
And we all know why you did it.
Promised you a partnership, did he?
As long as you played balls.
You tart.
Oh, that's rich coming from his ex-mistress.
Before you ladies come to blows, may I return to the matter at hand? It's obvious the lamp killed him.
Someone hot-wired it.
And the police are bound to think it was one of us.
Well, Mike, you are the electrical expert.
Don't give me that. Anyone could have found out how to do that on the internet. It's easy.
And it could have been done at any time.
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
It's obvious. Balls used that lamp every evening. So he used it yesterday and it didn't kill him. Therefore, it must have been tampered with during the last 24 hours.
That makes sense.
And let's face it, we all had a decent motive, didn't we?
Well, I did, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I hated the bugger. He was using me as a scapegoat for his own cock-up.
You mean the new software?
Yeah.
What about you, Olive?
It's no secret. I was devastated when he told me I had to leave, but I didn't kill him.
That's what we're all going to say.
I wasn't even here when the alarm went off. I'd gone to see my GP.
But we've only got your word for it, haven't we?
Check with the surgery if it'll make you feel any better.
What's your story?
I came back from the doctor's and went in through the front door. It must have been after the alarm went off because the rest of you were in the car park.
Go on.
I just went up to my office. I thought it was a bit odd that nobody else was around, so I came downstairs to see what was going on. That's when I saw Annette.
Annette, is that true?
Of course it's true. I had to come back in, didn't I? I'm the fire marshal.
So tell us what you were up to while we were all kicking our heels in the car park.
As soon as we left Balls's room, I went into my office to get my high visibility jacket and my clipboard. It's not funny. If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. I went straight out into the car park to check you were all there, but it wasn't that easy.
Why not?
Well, for a start, the outside lights weren't working, so it was difficult to see very much. And none of you had bothered to assemble in the proper place.
You mean the old Balls memorial bench?
Yes, nobody was there, except Balls. In fact, I didn't see any of you there at all.
I wonder why the outside lights weren't working.
Well, that's easy. Somebody had turned them off at the main switch just inside the back door.
What happened when you couldn't find anyone else?
I had to go back in, didn't I? It's my duty as fire marshal. I had a quick look round downstairs, and that's when I found out what had set the alarm off.
Well, what?
Someone had put 2 slices of bread under the cooker grill in the kitchen and turned it on low. After a few minutes, it started to burn, and the smoke set the alarm off.
One of you must have done that.
Or you.
I was at the doctor's, remember?
But we don't know what time you got back, do we? You could have sneaked into the kitchen while nobody was looking.
Well, I didn't.
Anyway, I don't understand why any of us would have done it.
It's obvious, isn't it? They wanted us out of the building so that the murderer could sneak back in and tamper with the lamp.
I took the remnants of the burnt toast out from under the grill, then checked the rest of the ground floor, but I didn't find anybody. I was about to go up to the first floor when I saw Flavia coming down the stairs.
Flavia, is that true?
Yes, I don't deny going back in.
Why?
To get my handbag.
You were willing to risk life and limb to go into a burning building for a handbag.
Well, it's a Gucci. Oh, you wouldn't understand.
Then what?
Then I just followed Annette back into the car park.
Right.
And did you see anyone else apart from Annette?
No. But I hurt someone.
Who? Where?
I have no idea who, but it sounded like he or she was coming down from the second floor. You all know that squeaky step? The third from the bottom of the second flight of stairs? Yeah? Well, I hurt someone on that step.
Couldn't have been me, obviously.
Or me.
Assuming we believe your doctor story.
Oh, please yourself.
So, Dick, Mike, must have been one of you two?
Not me. My room's on the ground floor.
So, that doesn't stop you from going upstairs, does it?
Why would I do that? Especially if the place was supposed to be on fire.
Did you come back into the building? Yes or no?
Yes. I wanted to get some personal software, stuff from my office. I do a lot of private work. And as Balls had sacked me, it was vital I got my things out in case there really was a fire. But I only went into my office.
Did you see Annette or Flavia?
No, but maybe they didn't go back in at the same time as me.
I think it was you who did the lamp. After all, you're the brains round here when it comes to anything electrical.
I didn't go into his room. I didn't touch his bloody lamp, and none of you can prove it.
But someone did, and I can prove that.
Oh, really? And how are you going to do that, Miss Marple?
Because his lamp, the one that was on his desk, is now on my desk.
What?
I don't understand.
His lamp has been dumped on my desk.
Are you saying that the lamp that's on his desk now, the lamp that killed him, isn't his original lamp?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
How do you know? There are at least half a dozen lamps in that building. I know, I ordered them. They look exactly the same.
Of course it's his lamp. It's got his initials on it.
Initials? Why?
Because I put them there as soon as he got it.
But why?
So I'd be able to find it if anybody took it.
If anyone took it. We're not at school now, you know. We don't have to label everything. I think this all sounds a bit childish.
I don't care what you think. One of you went into his room while you were all supposed to be out of the building and swapped his lamp for the electrified one.
Well, it wasn't me. I didn't go further than my office. If you don't believe me, this is my personal stuff that I rescued. It was all in my bag beneath my desk. Satisfied?
Maybe.
I guess that just leaves me.
Yes, I guess it does.
Okay. I admit it.
You do?
You do?
Do you?
Don't have much choice, really.
No, I suppose not. But why?
Why what?
Why did you kill him?
I don't mean I killed him. I mean, I admit it was me that Flavia heard on the second floor stairs.
What were you up to?
You want the truth?
That would be nice.
Okay. None of you know this except maybe Annette. But I've been going through some financial problems and I borrowed a bit of money from the firm.
Borrowed?
Well,
You mean nicked?
I had every intention of paying it back, but Paul was being unreasonable. He was threatening to call in the law unless I repaid him back very quickly. Now, you know I'm leaving.
You mean you've been fired?
I resigned by mutual consent, actually. Anyway, it's been difficult to find a suitable job, and I couldn't really stop him from involving the police.
So you did kill him?
Of course not. But it occurred to me while we were all outside that I could go back into the building, find some incriminating documents, and lose them in the fire.
So it was you who put the toast under the grill?
No, I don't know who did that. I just thought if I could find the documents and locate the fire, I could burn the evidence so that if Bowles did go to the police, they wouldn't have anything on me.
So what did you do?
I walked through the front door. I got into the office that way. I went up to my office, and as I was looking for documents, I heard a noise. I didn't want any one of you to know, especially Bowles. So I decided to leave.
So it was you I heard on the stairs?
Must have been.
Cobblers.
Pardon?
That's a load of old cobblers. You did bump the bugger off. You've got a great motive and a feeble excuse for going back into the office.
I didn't kill him, but I concede we all have a motive, including me. Anyway, the boys in blue are going to be here any moment. We don't have much time. What are we going to say?
Well, one thing's for sure.
And what's that?
We're all going to need a bloody good lawyer.
Dear Mr. Withers, I'm very sorry to bother you with this, but I was unable to clean the ladies' and gents' toilets when I did my usual cleaning routine this morning at 5 a.m. As you know, I keep all my toilet cleaning materials in that cupboard in the ladies' loo on the first floor, but when I went to get the stuff out this morning, the cupboard was locked. This has never happened before, and anyway, the key's always been in the lock, but this morning it weren't there. Would you kindly look into this, as I don't want to leave the toilets for another day? Gents is already a bit whiffy, if you know what I mean. Many thanks, Lou Brush.
2027 today, I commenced a detailed search of the premises of Batt, Bales and Bowles solicitors in connection with the sudden and suspicious death of Hugo St John Bowles. From an office on the first floor, designated the crime scene, I recovered an electric desk lamp. I subsequently examined this article with the aid of assistants, and my findings indicate that the wiring had been modified to the extent that the body of the lamp was live when the on-off position on the lamp itself was placed in the on position. This would have the effect of delivering electric current directly to the hand or other part of the body that was used to activate the switching mechanism. An assistant examined this lamp for fingerprints, and the only examples found matched those of the deceased. A second lamp, identical in all respects, apart from the addition of a small adhesive label on the underside bearing the initials HSB, was recovered from the office next to the crime scene. This was also examined for fingerprints. Those of the deceased and an employee named Annette Curtin were found on it. I searched the rest of the premises during the course of my visit and recovered a pair of latex gloves from the floor directly outside an office on the ground floor. A sign on the door read, IT Department. Underneath this title, a second communication of a more temporary nature had been placed. It read, bugger off, we're shut. An amount of DNA material was recovered from both gloves, but it was insufficient for identification purposes.
I'll just unmute myself. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from the suspects, we've heard from the police, we've heard from the accountant, even the office cleaner. And I'm sure you've got several ideas of your own so far as to who it might be. But before we go to the vote, let's go for our second interlude of the evening. Just over the cobbled street from the solicitors, over the attractive bridge near the parish church, lies Twitching's independent boarding school. And we're lucky enough now to go live to the headmaster of the school, who will be giving the end of term address.
Now, Your Royal Highness, governors, my valued fellow teachers, my assistants, matrons, groundsmen, and anxious parents, girls and boys, may this distancing technology preserve our fellow creatures and deprive the COVID virus of the targets to destroy us. Had we managed back in March to make an accurate prediction of the course these 20 weeks would take, the academic grades, and this eerie, empty school, they'd seen the wilder realms of fiction. But it happened, so no band attends our famous lunch parades. Still with Zooming, Skyping, email typing, Facebook texting, tweeting, taking classes in their bedrooms or with headphones in the park, our tech-savvy pupils sought tuition, minds not bodies meeting, novel streams of education, vital beams to pierce the dark. How our leisure hours have overflowed with thespian attractions. We've had Stoppard, Simon, Chekhov, and an evening of the Bard. And then the first night of Pygmalion and lockdown interactions. Works by Irwin, Ustan, Carmichael, O'Day, Ron the Carver. Then apocalyptic visions, testamentary dispositions, and fertility conditions, and electoral decisions, and Dickensian editions. Please forgive undue omissions, like Edwardian inactions, smoothly overseen by Ibbotson and Michich from IT. For coordination, scheduling, and blending the rival factions, we give Chapman grateful thanks, and in my view, the BBC would be quite foolish not to offer work to Guthrie, our technician. Could this be a sound career move for the future? We shall see. Of their aptitude for broadcast and their timely inspiration, Bello Curaçao and Ormond Cranfield leave us in no doubt. While our weekly journal Noises Off, fine source of information, is composed and sent by Sullivan, 300 and not out. With our buildings uninhabited, we've reached into the coffers and re-roofed the changing rooms, the aim of many past appeals. Now our stairs admit a full house to the plays the tower offers, while a lift connects our world to those who move on sticks or wheels. Let us stand in silent tribute and with gratitude remember loyal workers in the SAM, enduring risks beyond recall, while we shed a tear for those who will be absent come September. We salute our caring staff who gave their summer for our fall. Thank you, Miss Fortescue. Gloriat Turis Eternal, long may we merit your praise. Facere Roma supera, crowning the work of our days.
Well, thank you very much indeed, sir. Thank you. What a wonderful summing up of the last term, or season, as we call it here at the Tower. Right now, we've heard from the suspects, we've heard from everybody else, and what we'd like you to do now is decide who you think the murderer may be. So I'm going to share this poll, and all you need to do is select the suspect you think is the killer. So if you want to select who you think it might be, whilst I quickly remind people, Hugh Balls is the senior partner, and of course it was him who met the grisly end. Annette Curtin, Balls' faithful secretary and ex-lover, now sacked. Olive Stone, a long-serving solicitor about to lose her jobs for reasons of efficiency. Mike Roadchip, the firm's IT expert, shortly to be fired due to no fault of his own. Dick Withers, the practice manager, now dismissed for defrauding the firm. Or Flavia of the Month, Balls' latest conquest. but now let go by Balls in an effort to save his own marriage. Okay, and the votes are in. Would you like to see them, ladies and gentlemen? I shall end the polling now, and we shall share the results. So, it looks like Olive Stone is the one in the frame currently, and there's been all kinds of theories in the chat. We've seen that Amrit seems to think it is Olive who has the hots for Balls, but Dick Withers is their illegitimate son. Jim seems to think Roadchip is obviously psychotic. I tend to agree with him there. Anne W, I assume that's Watchhorn, particularly by the comments, says, well, Olive is the only one who never got her hands on Balls. We've got some other suggestions there. Jackie Dixon thinks all three women got together and managed to bump him off themselves. But only one person really knows, and that's our man, Ivor Penn. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing the results now, and I'm going to hand back over to Ivor Penn for our solution.
Olive was at the doctor's at the time of the murder. The GP surgery can prove it. She came back to work after the alarm went off and saw Annette in the building. But it wasn't Olive. Dick only saw the fire as an opportunity to burn evidence and went to his office on the second floor, but was distracted when he heard a noise and left the building. Dick is innocent. Annette had to go back inside the building in order to account for all staff. That's when she says she found the bread under the grill. Could she have put it there? She knew it was possible to swap the lamps around unnoticed, and as fire marshal, had every reason to be inside the building while the alarm was ringing. Mike says he returned to the ground floor to collect valuable IT drives and software. Out of all the suspects, he easily has the knowledge to hotwire a lamp. His office is on the ground floor near the kitchen, where the bag of breadcrumbs and a pair of latex gloves were found. But did he have time to go upstairs and swap the lamps? Flavia had to go back for her Gucci handbag and says she heard somebody coming down from the second floor. We know this was Dick, so Flavia was on the first floor, and then Annette saw her returning from the first floor a while later. Annette's allergy to latex means she couldn't have used the gloves. Besides, he has been fire marshal for 15 years and would never exploit her role. She is innocent. So, who has the preparation skills, cool head, and intelligence to plan a murder? Mike or Flavia? The murderer knew that Withers had ordered a set of desk lamps a few weeks earlier. Annette had taken one for Balls, but there were some in the storeroom and they all looked the same. 2 days before the murder, they worked late, pinched one, and took it home to rewire it to be live when turned on. The doctored lamp was brought to work on the morning before the murder and hidden in the cleaner's cupboard in the ladies' loo. They locked the cupboard and kept the key. This is why the cleaner couldn't do her work the following morning. On the day of the murder, they arrived at work with 2 slices of bread in a bag. On their way in from the car park, they switched off the outside lights to ensure it was dark. Later that day, at the appropriate time, the bread was placed under the grill to burn, triggering the fire alarm. Predictably, Annette insisted everyone leave the building, but the murderer was able to sneak back in under cover of darkness from the car park. When back inside, they went to the cleaning cupboard, put on the latex gloves, unlocked the cupboard, and removed the fatal lamp. The ladies' loo, Ball's office, and Annette's office are all on the first floor. It only took a few seconds to swap the lamps, but they were disturbed by Annette downstairs. It was the plan to return Ball's original lamp to the cleaning cupboard to deal with later. But there was no time, so it was dumped on Annette's desk. In their rush out of the building, they tore off the latex gloves and threw them in the direction of Mike's office on the ground floor. So, who would have easy access to the ladies' loo? And who made the fatal mistake of claiming to be returning for their Gucci handbag when the more observant among you would have noticed she had it with her in Ball's office a few moments before the fire alarm went off? Yes, Flavia is the murderer.
And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like the police have arrived to take Flavia away. That's probably the last we're going to see of her, I'm afraid. Oh no, she's back for the handbag. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you played along at home there. I'm not sure many of you would have followed that solution, but hopefully some of you did. We hope you've had a good time as well. And thank you for joining us. I will just say it's a well-known fact that throughout our lifetimes, we will walk past 11 murderers. So please, just keep yourself safe, at least until we see you in September.
Now it's a legal matter, baby. You got me on the run. It's a legal matter, baby. A legal matter from now on.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.